Well, hello orchid addicts of all various colors and shapes. This is Leonard, and today I wanted to present you with another order from OrchidGarden in Poland. Right now is in the early morning, and I only just now picked up the package which arrived yesterday. And I'm filming from what you could call my grow room, as you can see by these orchids at my more or less south exposure window. And this is the wonderful package right here. It's a bit big. This is my hand with too many rings. Yeah, I'm sorry for the poor quality lighting, but autumn has started full force, and in my country that means it's the humidity is more or less 100% and the temperature outside is more or less 5 degrees Celsius. So I don't really want to take my orchids outside for filming because no. And also it's important to mention that I ordered this time together with a friend of mine. So only some of these orchids are mine and some of these orchids belong to her. Okay, I just got to open the package. It came out really nicely. The material is also quite sturdy. So this box isn't exactly the easiest to get damaged in transport. And yes, this is all very neatly packaged. I believe this is thermal protection. Yes, this is the first time my orchids have arrived like this. Right now is the second half of October, so it's starting to get quite cold. This is too cold for transporting orchids, I do believe. Okay, this is an orchid called Anguloa, eburnea. Okay, I'm butchering the pronunciation, but I think you can understand. This is my friend's orchid. There's a bit moisture seeming to be in the pots, the packages. I really don't think that's good for the orchids in these low temperatures, but this is Cattleya Chian-Tzy Sunset. This is also an orchid my friend ordered. I'm really happy this time the orchids are not glued to the package, so it's easier to remove them. And also the packaging is very good. Nothing seems to, be falling out or being out of its place. The leaves also aren't very mangled. And this is Potinara, fortune teller. This is another Cattleya type orchid my friend ordered. Okay, this is SLC Jewel Box Dark Waters. This is another Cattleya type of orchid. This is my orchid, Phalaenopsis tetraspis C1. I am quite a victim of summer blooming fragrant Phalaenopsis orchid, and this is what I could call being the magical orchid. I would call it a chimera, although the description does not exactly fit the actual traits of the orchid. But every single bloom on this Phalaenopsis orchid can have a different color. This is supposed to be flowering size, but as you can see there are probably no flower spikes right now, but I'm going to properly unbox them. And this is another one of my friend's orchids. This is Lycaste dowiana. And this is my last orchid. This is Phalaenopsis Kaoda Twinkle. This is a primary hybrid between Phalaenopsis schelleriana, and this is also a fragrant orchid. This one produces quite small floriferous flowers on tree-shaped flower spike, like a regular flower shop Phalaenopsis. This is not a mini Phalaenopsis, but this is quite a compact one. This is not supposed to be a humongous floppy one, although I don't exactly know how it's gonna look when it's gonna be 5 years in my care, so maybe you'll see later. So okay, this is the full extent of the unboxing, and I'm going to wrap out my orchids. I'm very pleased with how this came through. This is the Kaoda Twinkle. You can see here in better sunlight here. It's a healthy green orchid. It's a primary cross between schelleriana. thick leaves. This plant is still small. It will grow a lot bigger, but you can already see the succession of the size and leaves. And this is my tetraspis C1. But this one, I'm really excited because it should be producing flower spikes pretty soon. Right now it's the middle of autumn, so I don't expect it to bloom this year, but next spring. Generally speaking, I think when an orchid blooms half a year around that time after you order it, it's a successful, really good purchase. Because that's not a long time to wait, especially when you're ordering young orchids from nurseries. And this is about it. I'm very satisfied with this order. These orchids are not dehydrated as far as I can tell from the medium. They have fared quite well, taking into account that they spent a week in transport. I am now going to showcase the orchids which my friend ordered. I could say these orchids don't exactly fit my tastes, but they're interesting to take a look at nevertheless. This is Lycaste dowiana. As you can see, it's terribly shriveled up, and by the movement of the plant I can tell there are no real roots left in the pot, but I'm not going to fully remove the material it's been packaged in, because I still need to deliver these to my friend. You can see this has a new growth with a bit of damage on the tip, but I don't think it's anything significant. I think this orchid will continue to grow its new growth. As you can assume by these pseudobulbs, they couldn't have desiccated this much in a single week period. The other orchids which I ordered together with these did not show any real signs of dehydration. So this orchid, I don't know anything about Lycaste, but I assume this is a deciduous/dormant orchid, and right now it's coming out of its dormancy and producing a new growth, but this might be compromised, but I think it will be fine. I think it will continue to grow on. This is another strange orchid which I have had no experience with. This is the Anguloa eburnea. I thought it was supposed to be pronounced as Anguloa, but no, apparently Anguloa is the correct way, which is strange. It's spotted up in this small sphagnum pot, and you can see a plump old growth with a with a dying off leaf, which I think is normal, and a new juicy growth. But in any case, I think it's very healthy. I don't think it will grow this new growth to its fullest potential, but that is still to be seen in the future. In any case, it's doing well. It doesn't look like it's strongly dehydrated. It doesn't look angry. It looks happy. And this is the CLC Jewel Box Dark Waters. This is supposed to be a Cattleya type orchid. This is I think an air flowering size, and it's supposed to have dark red flowers. As far as I understood, it's a very popular orchid for people to order from OrchidGarden, and this one is in a healthy condition. It doesn't look like it suffered from severe dehydration, so I think it's going to be good. And also you can see it has two new growths. So I'm very happy about the state of this orchid. I'm a bit envious. Maybe my friend could give me a division of it in future. But in any case, I think it has a long way to go, because you can see it's quite a small plant. This is the Cattleya Chian-Tzy Sunset. As far as I've seen in pictures from Google, this can be a yellow to red to purplish or Cattleya type of orchid. This one also seems to be faring quite well. It has live roots in the sphagnum medium, and it's also working on a new growth. The pseudobulbs are slightly dehydrated, but that is to be expected. I think this one will do fine. I believe this new growth might grow up to be about this big. Not the biggest, but this big, based on my experience with my Cattleya type seedlings. But that's not a bad thing. I think the growth after this one will take off in full force, because this orchid, after the long period of transportation, needs to go through a period of adaptation. It's gonna have shock, and it's not going to, grow as vigorously as it should. Orchids store energy within their leaves and pseudobulbs, and throughout a 7-day period of transportation, these resources should be pretty much gone. So it needs to get new ones, so it can't put the ones which it doesn't have anymore into the new growth. And the last orchid, which my friend ordered, is this Potinara fortune teller. This is also what I assume to be a near flowering size orchid, and this one also seems to be doing well. It's also slightly dehydrated, but nothing significant. The roots seem to be alive. This even has a lovely growing root tip. I can say only positive things about ordering from OrchidGarden. They have never disappointed me, so thumbs up to them. These orchids which I ordered were in transportation for a week. Usually when I order from OrchidGarden, the packages arrive in 3 to 5 days. However, this time it was a bit longer than usual, and that's a bit scary considering the temperatures are quite low and the plants were also packaged slightly moist, not too much but just slightly. But honestly speaking, 7 days is not a very, significant amount for orchids to stay in packages. Because I have heard stories of orchids having to travel to the destination for about a month, and they actually, survive that, strangely enough. Orchids are very strong plants when you come to think of it. Yes, they require very specific care, but they're able to store a lot of nutrients and moisture within their leaves and pseudobulbs and so on. So they're able to withstand relatively long durations of harsher conditions. But the downside to all of that is that these orchids are also spending a lot of time without sunlight. And as we know, for plants, sunlight equals food. What happens when orchids don't have sunlight for prolonged periods of time? They're unable to frickin' feed because they can't produce sugars through sunlight. And what happens to orchids who are also producing new growths, like you can see here, and especially in the case of my Catasetum Vine Delight, which I ordered last year, these growths might stop growing. Yes, you will put them in light and everything is going to be good, but they're not going to grow larger. They're going to finish growing, they're gonna mature their new growth, they're gonna mature the pseudobulb and so on, but the new growth might not grow as large as it should. For instance, this orchid, see? This is a young plant and you can see it has a strong new growth. But this growth might decide to not put out any more leaves. This growth might decide to stop, to start maturing, because it was in a 7-day period without sunlight. And that means 7-day period without food, which means 7-day period without being able to put any energy within this new growth. Which means this growth probably has to stop growing, eh? As you can see, there's quite a significant difference between the so-called summer blooming Phalaenopsis types and winter blooming Phalaenopsis types. The Phalaenopsis Kaoda Twinkle, it's supposed to belong to the group which blooms in autumn to winter, and Phalaenopsis tetraspis is supposed to be one of those species who flower in spring to summer. You can see there's quite a distinct contrast between both of these types of Phalaenopsis. The tetraspis has lighter leaves, they're very glossy and have a slightly wavy texture. The leaves on the Phalaenopsis tetraspis are lighter and they are more flexible, while the leaves on the Kaoda Twinkle are darker and more leathery, you could say. They're harder to bend. They have a darker color and they're more or less like straight. They don't really have a lot of curly texture like this one has. But the temperatures in my house are around 20 to 25 degrees, So I don't think the tetraspis is going to stall its growth. I think both of these orchids won't have any problem continuing to grow, because the temperatures are generally, I think, not so low that they should be forced into what you could call a resting period. And neither do my Cattleyas and other orchids look like they're planning to go into a type of resting period, because many of them are quite intensively working on new growths. I also wanted to say at the start, me and my friend, we wanted to order from Lithuania, because that nursery actually had Phalaenopsis tetraspis C1, but we decided in the end to order from OrchidGarden, because they also had a Phalaenopsis Kaoda Twinkle, which was in my wish list. And that nursery had more diversity of plants they offer, so my friend had a larger choice. And I'm also highly recommending OrchidGarden. Not once they have really disappointed me. The first orchids that I ordered from the nursery were my Catasetum Vine Delight and Cattleya maxima cerulean. The Cattleya maxima died. It was a seedling, but I killed it. I overwatered it. Afterwards, I have ordered seedlings from a Cattleya lodigesi and Cattleya Voltaire, which is a CG Robling and dowiana hybrid. And these seedlings are doing very well. So I have absolutely no complaints about OrchidGarden. Everything is really good what they're offering. Everything is really good. Of course, if you order orchids which are in bloom, it shouldn't be surprising that the flower spikes just like are ripped apart. Like, that's transportation. They're put in a small box. If you don't expect them to be damaged or bruised or fall off right after they get to you, you are irrational. When I ordered my Catasetum Vine Delight, which you can see here, I will make a spotlight on him when it blooms. It's a juicy boy. Like, look at that. Look at that. This is sexy. This is sexy. This is a sexy plant. Okay. And I ordered it, and it had a new growth. But that growth finished growing, and it started maturing, plumping up its soda bulb, because the orchid was in a box for 3 days, and that was enough for the orchid to start to realize it needs to mature its growth, because the living conditions are not suitable for it to continue growing. And especially when you're transporting seedling orchids, like you can see there. I have a couple of Cattleya seedlings, and also Catasetum and Phalaenopsis type seedlings. Okay, and when you're transporting these orchids, don't expect them to be happy after more than a week in transport. These orchids don't have a lot of reserves, especially when if you have orchids that have thin leaves and no pseudobulbs right now. Okay, seedlings I'm talking about. If you have Cattleyas or Phalaenopsis, they should be more or less fine, because they have thick leaves who are able to keep in a lot of moisture. So thank you for watching. Like, favorite and subscribe if you want to. That would be very helpful for me to understand whether you like or dislike my videos. And if you want to be informed about further uploads I will have on my collection. Also, don't be afraid to leave a comment in the comment section below, either about your opinions on my new purchases, any questions you might have, or your experiences with this orchid nursery, and if you have the same orchids which I ordered right now. Bye!